Boom, 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 bum 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 boom boom bum bum boom bum 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 bum. Where am I?
Mr. Josh, welcome back to the land of the living.
What am I doing here? And did you change my clothes?
Yes, they wanted me to pay for the tuxedo, and evil never pays.
Well, I mean, what do you want from me? I'm just the timeline guy.
Jerry sent me.
Should have guessed. So, do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Josh, I expect you to, I expect you to talk about the Roger Moore years, of course.
Oh, I was doing that anyway, you know.
Yes, but were you going to do it with lasers?
Whoa, Jesus. Yeah, I guess I am now. Okay, where did we leave off? We left off with going into Live or Let Die.
Well, they weren't lying, because in 1973 we got that film, and from the intro gun barrel shot we know that something's up. After our opening sequence we meet Bond, who's looking a little more saint-like, and M shows up, as does Moneypenny, and their responses to him are very similar to those of the previous Bond, again insinuating that this is the same person and not just another man in the same position. Felix is also back and is played by yet another actor, making it a new actor for every appearance of the character so far, and our villain helped kill Freddy Krueger at one point, and this car's license plates let us know that we're in 1973, still real time, and 2 years after the last film. So, as our calendar progresses, Bond's in on the same exact schedule so far. And then, what the hell? There's the first black Bond girl with Rosie Carver, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, a series of chases, and then drug lord Mr. Big is revealed to be Dr. Kananga. When trapped with Crocs, we get the famous sequence in which Bond runs over top of them. And the stuntman actually did it. These are real crocodiles that a man is running over top of. There's an extended chase scene with a bizarre comic relief police officer that seems to have wandered in from a different film series, and then James saves Solitaire, leading to the final confrontation, which sees our most ridiculous villain death yet, as Kananga is, inflated until he hits the ceiling and explodes.
Where's Kananga?
Well, he always did have an inflated opinion of himself.
Aw, Roger's first one-liner.
So cute.
This is our second movie in a row to have a henchman show up in the final few moments for one last fight, and then one last promise that James will return for the man with the golden gun. That happened just 1 year later in 1974, and wow, Saruman and a tattoo. And the return of Mark Lawrence from Diamonds Are Forever, although it's not entirely clear if he's supposed to be the same character. Scaramanga has a golden gun.
It's in the title.
Opening sequence, of course, M, of course, Money, of course, and Bond girl Maud Adams, who we'll see again later. Bond poses as Scaramanga by wearing a fake third nipple, and he works with Agent Mary Goodnight, and Bond has to defeat a sumo wrestler by grabbing his ass. And, oh man, that southern sheriff shows up again. They serve this wine and say it's from 74, so it looks like we're in the current year as usual. And you know, you can make fun of the Bond movies for being unrealistic, but I totally believe a woman can sit on a bed and not notice another woman just right behind her, covered up in a sheet. There's another chase scene including this guy and this sound effect. And Scary here has taken over a solar power plant, and during their face-off, Bond gets the drop on him and Dracula goes down. His island explodes, and for the third movie in a row, there's a last-minute henchman attack as the king of the Forbidden Zone gets stuffed in a suitcase and then hung up to dry. But Knick-Knack does survive, and so does Bond, so he can be back in The Spy Who Loved Me. That did happen, but it was 3 years later in 1977, the longest stretch in between Bond films yet, and we meet Russian agent XXX, and kicks off with a pretty great stunt. Opening bit, Q and M, and someone is stealing submarines, and whoa, what is that shark trying to eat here? We meet Jaws' metal-toothed bad guy and Ega himself, and this appointment book shows that August 3rd was on a Wednesday, which is what it was in 77, so we're still in real time here, and 3 years have passed since the last film. James and XXX meet up, and she reads off his history, and she mentions that he was married once and his wife was killed. Bond interrupts her and says it's a sensitive subject, the first bit of continuity with the older films of the Moore era, and more evidence towards him being the same person and not a new man with a code name. After skipping the last film with one-liners, James comes back with...
He just dropped in for a quick bite.
Carolyn Monroe pops in, Bond meets villain Stromberg, his car becomes a submarine, which makes this guy question his drink, and unfortunately XXX discovers Bond is the man who killed her lover, an enemy agent in the beginning of the film, so she vows to kill him, but after they stop Stromberg from destroying the surface world so his undersea city can flourish. There's, of course, a big final fight, and Bond shoots Stromberg, then feeds Jaws to Jaws, and they destroy Atlantis. Metalmouth survives, but doesn't attack them at the end of the movie, so that whole pattern is broken, and we're told that Bond will be back in For Your Eyes Only. Well, that didn't happen because Star Wars happened, and they decided that they wanted something with some space stuff in it, so instead, 1979 gave us Moonraker. M and MP are here, and whoops, definitely not Roger Moore. Jaws is back, although there's no way he'd survive this fall from an airplane, though. I mean, he doesn't have a chute. Opening bit again, Q's here, and we meet new villain Drax, and Bond girl Holly Goodhead.
Yes, that's actually her name.
And this car's license plates have registration stickers from 1978, so we may be just 1 year after the last film. There's a gondola chase scene here, which makes this guy question his drink again, and somehow Jaws is still alive, and Goodhead is revealed to be a CIA agent. And then Jaws meets this girl who helps him, and he falls in love. And then oh dear, laser beams. Bond discovers Drax's base, stows aboard his space shuttle, and heads into the atmosphere. There's this big laser battle in space, which just feels like so much like a different film series. It's really bizarre, and Jaws switches sides, and I guess we're supposed to root for him now, even though he murdered multiple people in the last film and tried to kill several people in this one. Bond kills Drax and launches him out into space.
Where's Drax?
Oh, he had to fly.
Oh, you weren't even trying with that one.
The space station explodes, Jaws and Dolly are rescued, and Bond gets him some good head, and we're once again promised For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, so let's take a quick break to talk about Bond's age.
The book version of Moonraker actually gives Bond's age of 37 years old at the time of those events. If we actually say that that's the same with the film version, he'd be 37 in 1978 and would have been born in 1941, which would have made him 21 at the time of Dr. No, which is, it's kind of pushing it. I mean, Connery looks older than that, but he could be playing younger, although it's harder for me to believe that he'd be an MI6 agent at that age, I guess. But we're going to go ahead and roll with it, though, because it's a little easier to presume Dr. No at 21 than what we're going to be dealing with as he gets older here. Well, they finally make good on their promise in 1981, 2 years later, with For Your Eyes Only. It starts off with some hard continuity and the final nail in the coffin for me of the multiple Bond theory. James visits Tracy's grave to take flowers, which I can't imagine he would do if it was some other guy's wife. The grave says she died in 1969, so that's actually accurate. We get the return of Blofeld with cat, bald head, and neck brace, and I should point out that we don't get to see his face, and the character's not named, as they didn't have the rights to the character. His voice is back to the Donald Pleasance version, and apparently the script and comic adaptation have a line of dialogue that said that they last met 10 years ago, which would line up to their last face-off in '71. James gets his revenge by dropping Blofeld down a smokestack, seemingly killing him for good, but not before he's offered a...
We can do a deal! I'll buy you a delicatessen in stainless steel!
I mean, how did he resist that?
The psychedelics are still here. General Gogol of the KGB is back, as is Money, but M is on leave, mainly because Bernard Lee had passed away, so they wrote the character out of this one. This file is dated November of '80, so we're 2 years after the last one and still slightly behind real time, and Bond teams up with Melina and then meets young Bibi. There's some wild chases, and this guy's back, but doesn't question his drink this time. And Bond goes up against Dr. Hans Zarkov as smuggler Columbo, who turns out to not be the bad guy after all, and they go after Christados, who is our real villain here.
Had no head for heights.
Was that even a joke?
Q pops up pretty late in the game, and Christados is actually killed by Columbo, and for the third movie in a row, they try to get in touch with Bond while he's sleeping with the female lead, although this one's a little creepier than the others because there was a 30-year difference between Roger Moore and Carol Bouquet. He will be back, though, in Octopussy. That happened in 1983, 2 more years later, and gives us a date immediately as we see that it's August 25th, 1982, so 2 years have also passed in universe. Standard opening, Moneypenny's back with a new assistant, and we meet our new M, played by a new actor, but playing the same character. This file for the deceased Agent 009 seems to show that we're still in 1982, so not much time has passed between the opening sequence and this scene. Gogol is back, and Arcane shows up. Q is back, and Bond's watch shows that it's Sunday the 16th, and the first one of those to occur after August of '82 was in January of '83, so we've gone into the new year here. The embarrassing sound effects continue. And we meet Octopussy.
How do you even get that nickname?
Do you even want to know?
I kinda wanna know.
She's familiar, though, as she's played by Maud Adams, who had previously been in The Man with the Golden Gun, but she's a new character here. There's a buzzsaw yo-yo, and Gogol is after a rogue Russian agent trying to detonate a nuclear device, but he gets shot. Bond dresses up in a gorilla suit, but when he checks his watch again, it's Saturday the 22nd, which is again in January, so they actually took the time to make that match up, so good on them. And the main portion of this movie takes place over a week, which sounds about right. The bomb's in a circus, so Bond dresses up as a clown and deactivates it, and then Khan double-crosses Octo, and James has to rescue her, and Khan crashes and explodes. James and Octopussy sail off together as Bond is recuperating, but he'll be back in From a View to a Kill. Quick note, in this same year, Never Say Never Again was released, also featuring James Bond, but we'll come back to that later. So, 2 more years go by, and in 1985 the title was shortened to simply View to a Kill. And what's this? They apparently wanted to make sure that there was no confusion with the real-life Zoran Corporation. This starts off with a snowboard scene that is inexplicably set to California Girls by the Beach Boys, and then our opener with the only Bond song to hit #1 on the charts. Of course, Money's here, as is M and Q, and we meet our villains, Max Zorin, played by Max Schreck, and the Graciest of the Jones. Almost 20 years after Diana Rigg, the other member of the Avengers joins the series.
There's a fly in his suit.
It's been a while since we've had a good one-liner.
Sheena shows up and we see a checkbook with a check dated May 3rd, 1985, so we're back in the current year and 3 years after the last film. And for those following along, James would be 44 years old at this point, and Roger Moore was in his mid-50s.
Don't worry, it's all wrapped up.
Not too old for those one-liners, though.
McNee needs avenged, and Gogol is here, and Zoran is planning to destroy Silicon Valley. In case there was any doubt, the license plate sticker colors match those of 85, and everything leads to a final face-off at the fault line, where Zoran double-crosses Mayday so she helps Bond, sacrificing herself to save the day. There's a confrontation on the Golden Gate Bridge with Zoran falling to his death, and Bond and Stacy then celebrate while once again accidentally being watched by Q. Oh, and James Bond will return in... I guess he'll just return.
Alright, that closes out this generation of Bond. At this point, Moore left the series due to his age. He felt that he no longer looked the part and felt it was a little odd to be paired up with women that were close to 30 years younger than him. And where are you going?
Well, I have to finish my evil plan.
Which is what exactly?
I guess I'm supposed to explain the whole plot here? I'm no stereotypical villain. Now excuse me while I leave you here unattended.
Okay.
Boom, 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 boom.